Woohoo! It's time for positive actions. Hola, it's Lola,
Reacción
Your Positiva. Oh, super students, I am so happy to see you all with us today. Today we're getting together for our science Zoom room assembly, and we are going to talk about a core value, and we're going to see how our positive actions, when we set them all together, can make something beautiful. Here's what we're going to do today, guys. We're going to meet. Are you excited? We're going to meet a chemist. Isn't that cool? After that, we're going to do some science. Who's excited about science? Do some science. Then we're going to talk about science, and Miss Ivy is going to help us understand the science and how it relates to respect and inclusion. All right, super scholars, are we ready to meet a scientist? Who's ready to meet a scientist?
Me.
Me too. Who else is ready to meet a scientist? Raise your hand. Me too. All right.
Me.
Super scholars, I'm excited to meet our scientist today. And she brings with her some friends and family from Alabama. So let's take a minute, and Miss Shame is going to help us with sharing our screen. And I am so happy, guys, that you guys get to meet my friend, my sister, one of my role models. She is a beautiful person who joins us today in our school assembly, joining us in West Virginia, all the way from Alabama, where she works and lives with her family, our scientist. Miss Ivy, are you there?
I'm here. Good morning, everyone.
Ivy.
Hi. How are you guys doing this morning?
Oh, we are awesome. All right, everybody, let's all say hi to Miss Ivy. Everybody wave. Nice. Boys and girls, welcome to our science assembly. And Ivy, Miss Shaw, welcome to our Positive Actions program with the Morgan County Partnership. Now, we are so happy, boys and girls, because Ivy's going to share with us about science and core values. And she has some friends that are going to join us today, too. So before we get started with science, Miss Ivy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you've been, what you're doing, where you're going?
Well, my name is Ivi Shaw. I'm from Northwest Alabama. I grew up in this little country town called Barton, Alabama. I'm sure nobody's ever heard of it, but it was a very, very small town. I went to, of course, elementary, middle school, and high school in Alabama. Became fascinated with science and went to school in a university in Mississippi and became a chemist. And after becoming a chemist, I got a chance to travel all over the world. I've had a chance to invent things. I've had a chance to analyze things, and I've had a chance to facilitate other people and other scientists all over the country. And it's been a very, very enjoyable experience, especially since I came from a little small town that, I used to help my grandma's plant gardens and get eggs from chickens and all that good stuff. So I'm a country girl at heart, but science has allowed me to be able to go all over the world and all over actually the country and meet a lot of different people. And we've made some changes in the world because of it, and I'm happy for that. Right now, I'm back in Alabama, being a scientist again, working more in regulations at a chemical company, and making sure that, when you get, just say tubing or have a gown and you have coatings on it, that is safe. So you will not get sick, it will not harm you. Even with this COVID-19, the company I work for, we actually do the coatings for the gowns and the masks to make sure that they're safe. So, and food packaging also. So things you eat, the little plastic of the McDonald's bag, the containers, we do the coatings for that to make sure that they're safe and they stay preserved. So science works in all fields, and I've been in a lot of different fields in science.
Oh, Miss Ivy, thank you so much for all you do. All of your positive actions that help protect us and keep us safe. Look what I have right here. This is my mask, boys and girls. Yeah, and I didn't know that. Miss Ivy uses science to help us stay safe and healthy. And you know what? I want to thank you for that, because that shows that you care, and that shows that you have respect and empathy for others, using science to help our well-being. That's really cool. Now, super scholars, Miss Ivy said she has been all around the world, and she has, you know, and I want to share that Miss Ivy and I, we are sisters, and you might not know that, but Miss Ivy's also been to West Virginia too. So, and you know what's pretty cool, Miss Ivy? It's a lot of similar things between Alabama and West Virginia, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I think I told you, Angie, I think I told you when I went to your house, it's like, this reminds me of Alabama.
Yes, she did. In fact, she did. Yeah. And I remember that. And Ivy's son came to the house, and we had a snowball game out in the front yard. It was so much fun. That's so cool. Well, you know, thanks again for joining us, Miss Ivy. And I just think it's pretty cool to get to hear how you're using chemistry with positive actions to help us stay safe. And what a special thing for our students here in West Virginia to get to know more about that. And before we start our experiment, we're going to have an experiment soon. Could you share with us some of your special guests who are joining us from Alabama? Can you tell us?
Well, they're having problems with video, so they're joining us via audio. Hopefully they got the right time. I told them 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock Central. So they don't get on at 9.
Oh. Is it a different time in Alabama? I didn't know that. Well, we'll be sure. We're going to get to meet. We're going to get to meet here before we see our experiment. Miss Ivy's assistant, who is her daughter. We have a great picture, and we can share with Ivy's classmates. I mean, with Avery's classmates too. We can share our podcast. So they can see, if they're not able to log on, they can see the experiment. I'll make sure they get the link, Miss Shaw, okay? All right.
Perfect.
So are you guys ready? All right, let's do some science. I get so excited about science, Miss Ivy. This is fun. Let's begin by meeting Miss Shaw's science assistant. Miss Shema, can you please share this picture for our students? Isn't this awesome? Welcome to the assembly. This is my niece, Miss Avery. And before we get started, Miss Avery is sharing with us our experiment we're going to see. So, super scholars, I want you to take a look at each of those colors, okay? And I want you to think about each one being a positive action that can show respect, right? Now, right now, they're all one color in one cup, right, Miss Ivy?
Yes.
Right. All right, let's get ready and watch some science. Miss Ivy, are you ready with an experiment? We have a video to share. Miss Shema, are you ready to share our experiment?
Sure, Mrs. Hart.
All right, scholars,
we
let's
are
watch
ready.
what happens with science. I'm ready.
Hi, super scholars and neighbors. Due to copyright, we can't share the video from the science experiment, but you can go to YouTube and you can find the video from Ryan's World channel. The name of the video is Walking Water Science Experiments for Kids. Have fun!
Bye, Ryan. Wow. That was awesome. Wow. Miss Ivy, that was amazing.
That was amazing.
You know what? I don't understand. Could you explain what happened?
That is called capillary function. In science, it's also called osmosis. A lot of times we have what they call the way that chemicals travel from a concentration of less concentration, from a substance of less concentration to greater concentration. And because the color of the liquid is heavier than the water, it migrates. Avery and I actually did a little science experiment last night using a few different colors rather than the purple, the blue. We used the red, we used yellow, green, and purple. And we let the cups sit overnight. That's the first picture you actually saw. And this is and we did it, and every other cup was empty. And look how the colors migrated over time in about 8 or 9 hours.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's cool.
That's how with concentration, that's how, just say, they actually gave you an example of a tree, how the water in the ground actually, because of gravity and forces, actually can migrate up into the tree to feed it water. It's the same way that just say paint brushes actually absorb paint when you put it in a can, or it is also used it's like in the like 1800s. We used a type of science to actually separate different compounds and molecular weights called thin layer chromatography. And you would have a solvent, and you would put whatever element you were trying to pull out on that solvent, and it depend on what type of material you had on it, how it actually migrate out. And you can tell if there was like carbon in it, or if it was the different type of elements. So this goes, a capillary function is what they call it, has started in the 1600s.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Hi, Miss Ivy. My name's Perry, the Positive Puppet. And
hi, Perry.
Wow, Miss Ivy, that was awesome. Wow. And you know what? I love science. Can you use that word one more time? Cap something series?
Capillary function. If you ever see a capillary, we even use it now. We use capillary electrophoresis to actually separate elements, so you can tell exactly what may be in a pharmaceutical, what may be in a coating. It actually takes whatever you're looking for and it separates it out.
Capillary. Oh, that's a new word. Boys and girls, let's all say it together. Ready?
Capillary.
Capillary.
It's the ability of a liquid to flow.
Capillary. Oh, hey, Perry. Wow, Perry, that was fun. Perry learned a new word. Perry, the Positive Puppet. Capillary functions. Thanks for sharing that with us, Miss Ivy. Wow, I feel like it almost looks like magic. Science. What do you Possum Partners think?
I'll tell you what, I'll give you the actual definition. It says capillary action is the ability of a liquid to flow in narrow spaces without the assistance of, or even the opposite to, external forces like gravity. The effect can be seen in the drawing of liquids between the hairs of a paintbrush, in a thin tube, in porous materials such as paper and plaster, in some non-porous materials such as sand and liquefied carbon fiber, or in a biological cell. So capillary function is used in many areas of our lives, even in how we actually function as human beings. Osmosis diffusion, how when you take salt in your body, your body diffuses a lot of times the salt out so it won't harm your body. So we are actually even part of capillary function. So
Thank you, Miss Ivy. Capillary function. That's a neat science word. And I'm glad we got to see that today with you. Now, Miss Ivy, Shema saw a really cool Instagram, okay? Yeah. And Possum Partners, can we take one more look at capillary function? Now, Possum Partners, I want you to watch one more time what capillary function does, okay? And here's what I want you to think about. What shape is made? check this out. Thank you, Shema. Wow. If you know the shape, say what shape did you guys see? Can you all say it? What was it?
Capillary action.
Good job. Capillary action. And we watched it form the shape of a heart. It was a heart. I love that. And boys and girls, there were some positive actions happening, weren't there? Capillary actions. We saw how science made the shape of a heart. And Miss Ivy, can we talk about that a little bit? I think that's neat because what we do here in West Virginia on positive actions, every week we talk about a new core value. And guess what this week's word is? Does anybody know the word of the week? The word of the week is respect. And in Spanish, respecto. Okay, can you guys all say respect?
Respect.
Good job. And respecto. And I think it's beautiful because we saw how science shows respect. Now, let me tell you guys this. Respect means that you consider the feelings, the wishes, the rights, and the traditions. Someone else's feelings, wishes, rights, and traditions. You consider others, right? And that's how you respect them. Now, think of this, guys. If each color in the capillary action was a different positive action, they all worked together, didn't they? Miss Ivy, can we talk about that? Look how positive actions all work together to unite and be unified. And we have for everyone, Miss Shema, and our teachers in the classroom and parents, we have an activity that we want you to keep, because when we all come together in capillary action, we collaborate and make a heart with different colors. So you'll have for after the assembly, you have an activity page to color, okay? And Miss Ivy, let's talk about that capillary action. Does anyone want to share with Miss Ivy what they saw, and Miss Ivy, how we can all use positive actions together and work together with respect and positive actions? Okay. All right. I see, boys and girls. I'm going to pause for just a second. I'm looking for Miss Ivy.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Miss Ivy, I want to make sure that our students know that positive actions all come together, all of the things that we do, like capillary action, right?
Yes,
and
they do.
Can you share with us a little bit about that, how science and positive actions, when we try to make good choices, we can help others stay healthy with science, right? Like by wearing a mask and things like that.
Yes. By showing mutual respect of other people and understanding that we all are good for this earth. It's just like you see how the colors come together to make the heart. We need to come together and care and respect and love one another, and make sure in our minds, with the science included, that we all know that this world is better with us in it, together, working together, being respectful, loving one another, respecting each person, no matter what they look like, where they're from, how quote unquote rich or not rich or poor or whatever. We're all the same. And with that that heart, you see, that's how we work as scientists. A lot of times we have scientists from all over the world. I've worked with people from every country almost in the world.
Wow.
And we come together, and nobody's better than anyone else, and we have a problem. And through coming together and understanding and talking it out and brainstorming and doing experiments, we come together and find a solution. And a lot of times that solution, people don't know, and you guys may not know, may be a benefit to you, just like in a pharmaceutical or drug or the mask, or who would know that, that we're making coatings for different things, gowns and things, to make sure that all of us in this country and world are being protected. So it's the same way as a capillary. The capillary function, you can take that, you can use love, you can use patience, understanding, you can use diversity, and that comes together in that form of a heart, which I think is very, very symbolic because we all have a heart, and a heart represents love. I see you, Angie.
Yes.
And that is what makes the world go round and makes it good.
Thank you. Oh, Miss Ivy, that's really cool. That is so cool. Thank you so much. And I am going to look for the science and love in the world. What a fun positive actions. Now, super scholars, it's almost time for our assembly to close. But before we do, we want to know if you have a question for Miss Ivy. She's a chemist, okay? If there's anything you'd like to know or ask Miss Ivy, think of what you'd like to ask. And if you raise your hand, Miss Shema will unmute you. Are you ready? Who has a question? All right, I think,
Isabella,
go ahead, Shema.
Isabella, you can talk now.
Isabella, is that who you said? Hi, Isabella, what's your question?
I never done science before.
Really? Wow, well, you know what? Today with Miss Ivy, you did some science.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, did you see science today with Miss Ivy? She's a chemist, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Do you have a question for our guest chemist today? What's your question?
Well, did you ride an airplane or did you ride a car?
I've ridden in cars, I've ridden in airplanes, and I've been on trains and even buses. So I've been in every form of transportation. Even when I was young, I rode a go-kart. I had my own go-kart, so I've done it all.
Thanks you.
And
Thank
bicycles.
you. Anybody else have a question for Miss Ivy?
I see Ms. Lakins.
Go ahead.
Mary Jane, what's your question?
What's the time difference from here to Alabama?
There's a 1 hour time difference, and there might be the reason that the classes from Alabama are not on, but we may have to do this again and make sure we get the time right.
Okay.
We're in Central Standard Time here, and you guys are on the Eastern Standard Time, so it's a 1 hour. So I think it's 8:31 here. It's 9:31 there.
Yes,
it's 9:31 a.m. there.
right. Any other students or classes? We have some teachers' classrooms with us. Anybody else have a question for our chemist?
Ms. Michaels.
How long have you been doing science?
I've been doing science. Actually, I started when I was like 8 or 9. I had a best friend. We used to go into the woods, and he was a genius. He was a year older than me. He played classical piano, so I started playing classical piano. And we would go in the woods, and he was like, "I name all the parts of a flower." So I started, learning all about flowers and everything. So I got a love of science. So I've been officially, after I graduated from college in 1991, I became official science, but I've been doing science ever since I was like 8. And actually started before then because my grandmother made all the medicines for her 16 children. And she used to take me to the woods and teach me how to put herbs and things together so we have our own medicine. So it's been a long time.
Wow, you've been science to help others. You've been doing positive actions, and you're taught from your grandma. That's beautiful. Wow. Okay, super scholars, we have about 2 more minutes left. Who has another question?
I see Rebecca.
Rebecca?
Let's ask your question.
How many airports have you been to?
Been to a lot of airports, from airports in Europe to airports in I've probably been to, I would say altogether, and some of them I've been to 3 and 4 times, probably about 50 different airports. No, probably like 30-something different airports.
Wow. Scientists get to travel, right, Miss Ivy?
Yes, yes, yes.
All
And
right.
I'm from a smaller place than you guys are, so hey, if I can do it,
You can too.
can.
That's awesome. Wow. Ivy, thank you so much. Boys and girls, it's almost time to go. I know you got to get back to class. If you have a question and you'd like to send it to me, we can ask Miss Ivy. I will send her your questions, okay? And Ivy, I really love how you said that. You know what, guys? Miss Ivy's from a tiny town too, just like we are. But we're all in one big world, right, Miss Ivy?
Yes, we
We're
are.
one community. Yes, and we want to thank you here in West Virginia for all you've done for science to help us stay healthy and well and those positive actions. So Super Scholars, we have something we want you to do. We want you to get your positive action activity, color that and collaborate, okay? Science is a collaboration. And remember, when we work together, we all can be together in love, okay? And we can see the science behind it.
And Angie, I just want to say something real quick. We have less than a minute. I just got an email that the students in Madison were on. So let's everybody tell them hi.
Yes, Madison.
Columbia Elementary. And Avery's and Miss Johnson. Hi, Miss Dowd. Dale and Miss Johnson.
Hi, Avery. All right. Super Scholars. Miss Ivy's daughter is in first grade. So everybody say hi to Alabama from West Virginia. Mwah. Everyone. That's great. Well, Super Scholars, I think, let me see here. Shema, how are we doing on time?
Now, Miss Ivy, she's gonna answer all your questions that you sent to Mrs. Hutt. Thank you so much for joining us, Super Scholars.
All right. Boys and girls, Super Scholars, we are back with our special guest from our all-school science assembly today. Now, the assembly closed, but Miss Ivy is joining Miss Shema and I. Hi, Miss Ivy.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Miss Ivy, hey, I'm glad I called you back and Miss Shema is able to get us connected again because guess what, Miss Ivy?
Yes, what?
I have an email for you. So at the end of our assembly, we had some questions from some students. So I thought maybe Miss Shema had a great idea. I could share this email with you and maybe we can chat a little longer, okay?
Sounds great.
All right. Now, boys and girls, if you missed our assembly today, Miss Ivi Shaw is a chemist and she joined us from Alabama where she works in science. And at the assembly, she talked about how science is helping with positive actions and helping people stay healthy and well. And Miss Ivy, we have an email from Miss Fox, Jennifer Fox, and she is a third grade teacher at Widmeyer Elementary. So she says, Miss Ivy, I have some questions from my students. The first one is from Ethan. Ethan wants to know how many years did it take to go through classes to become a chemist?
Actually, it took 4 years in college. I got my bachelor's of science degree from Jackson State University in chemistry, but it started well before then. It started probably in my second and third grade classes, taking more accelerated science classes in middle school and taking the advanced math. So it takes preparation. It just doesn't start when you get to college, unless you're very, very bright. And I don't know if I was that bright. So I had an interest in science ever since I was a little girl. I always wanted to learn more things and do more things. And I was that kid that read the encyclopedia during the summertime. Because when I was young, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. So I did medical journals and science journals when I was young and tried to read as much as possible. Not a big reader, but I like reading articles and journals and things to find out more things. So it takes 4 years of undergraduate work in a university to get a BS or BA in chemistry. But a lot of times it starts well before then. Just learn as much as you can. And I mean, if you keep your mind, sparked, you'll want to learn more.
Yeah. Curiosity, right? You sound like a very
Curiosity.
curious person, Miss Ivy. Yeah. In our positive actions, we talk about how curiosity is positive for your intellectual wellness.
Yes.
So we do that on our videos. And curious, that's like it's good for your brain, because there's actually I've read that, some science behind when you're wondering things, when you're imagining things, your brain actually is active and it makes you want to learn more. So that's pretty cool.
Even at my age, if I hear something, I want to know something, some information, I do research. And a lot of times with that, I do research in many different areas to make sure that I have a reliable source, because you have a lot of people who put information out that may not be correct and it may be false. So I'm the type of person that I research and I go to the journals and I go to, I don't a lot of times listen to just say something on Facebook because somebody put it on Facebook or whatever. I go deep and I'm a forever student, even at my age.
That's a good point. So the research behind it, and there's a lot of social media and influence where people might not fact check, and sometimes that can cause quite a problem and people question the science. But if you actually, there are answers that help explain things. And now next, Logan has an interesting question next. Logan from Miss Fox, he's a third grader. He wants to know, have you ever invented anything?
Actually, I have invented quite a few things. When I worked in Minnesota, I worked at a company, I'm sure some of you have heard, it's called 3M. If you ever got Scotch Guard, Post-it notes, actually in the 90s, I was working on cleaning up wastewater sites throughout the world. And because of one of the inventions that I created, and I was in new product development, I got one of the top 100 scientists in the country or world or whatever. And it was dealing with actual superligand that I developed to clean up wastewater for radiation. So I've invented a lot, and I'm still inventing. Angie knows I'm always formulating something. I invent all the time.
Now, when I saw Logan's questions, Ms. Ivy, about invented something, I thought of a story because Ivy's my sister, and Ivy shared when we met that she invented something to help Avery, her little girl with dry skin. Remember that? Can you tell us about that story, Miss Ivy?
Yes.
How you made something special using chemistry. This is amazing, Shema, and wait to hear this.
Yes, when Avery was 2 years old, she's almost 11 now. She had a big problem, I know, with eczema. And we were living in Pennsylvania at the time, and she was crying, and it was, really, really bad. So I rushed her to the emergency room, and the doctors told me, they were like, well, it's so bad that we're going to have to give her steroids. And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. So I was like, I'm a chemist, so I can sort of figure it out. So I went and started doing my research, and I developed a cream that helps with the clear up eczema. I can't say treat because it's not clinical studies behind it. I don't want to, but it was called, I initially called it the itchy scratchy cream, and then I started calling it Avery Bliss because we used it, and after 2 weeks, pretty much the eczema had been completely cleared up. And she started asking, Mom, would you put, at 2 years old, I want my itchy scratchy cream. So
thank you for using chemistry to make itchy scratchy cream, because I remember I had some of Avery's Bliss itchy scratchy cream, and my elbows get dry. And the bottom of my feet too, like this part right here. I don't know if anybody else has that, but this part, I used to put Avery's itchy scratchy cream on that. It worked better than anything, Miss Ivy. It was amazing.
Well, I'll talk to you about this after the meeting, how you can get some more. I started doing.
Okay.
I want to learn too.
Shema wants some too.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Miss Ivy, our next question comes from Thurman. All right.
Hi, Thurman.
And Thurman wants to know, when was your first expedition?
Okay. Expedition.
Expedition.
Okay. Okay, we'll talk about science expedition. Normally, expedition means travel. The first time I traveled as a scientist, I think, and I wasn't really a scientist at the time. I was in undergraduate school, and I was part of this, they call it Minority Biomedical Research Symposium, MBRS. And I got a chance, it was my first time on a plane to go from Mississippi, where I went to college, to Los Angeles and do a presentation. And I was 18 or 19 years old. So to go from Mississippi and then not just go to, an hour and have dinner on the plane. My first expedition was to Los Angeles. And I had to do I was working on aldehyde and dehydrogenase interaction and protein synthesis. That was way back in the day, but anyway.
Nice. Oh, you cool. Thurman, that's a good question. Wouldn't it, Shayma? I'm sorry. Would you
impress me? She's amazing.
I know. It's amazing. All right, Miss Ivy. Next, our question comes from Jaden. Okay.
Hi, Jaden.
And Jaden wants to know, how old are you?
51, and I will be 52 in May.
Yay! And Jaden is a third grader, so she might be about 8, I guess. Okay. But Jaden, you know what? Look, when you grow up in 51 someday, using positive actions, look how you can help make the world a better place, yes. like Miss Ivy, our chemist. Okay, now our next question is from Aubrey, and you sort of talked about this a little bit, Miss Ivy. Aubrey says, what college did you go to, and what is the best thing about being a scientist? Oh, that's a good question.
Okay. I went to Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi, which is about 6 hours away from where I live now in North Alabama. I got a meeting request, I'm sorry. And the best thing about being a scientist is being able to go to work every day and making sure that the world is a better place. Because of the jobs and positions I've had a chance to ensure that, people are safe. And even when I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for a number of years, for almost 20 some years. And, my positions have allowed me, when I thought something may actually harm the general public, to say, I'm not doing this. I'm not signing off on this. And we got to do more research. So that's been the best part of being a scientist, being able to ensure that everyone on this, not say everyone on this earth, but the people that my job impacts are safe. Because I always told people, no matter what, because I'm not really into titles, I would never, ever give anybody in this country or world anything that I wouldn't give to my children. So that has always been my safeguard, to make sure that, we are all as safe as possible. So I like that being in science has allowed me to make the world safer, if nothing else.
Oh, and I hear, that, and I mean, how I can see how much you care about others, and how, and you use positive actions to share that through science. And you know what? Possum Partners, that's a way that we can, if we're in Miss Fox's class, at 8 years old, and we can use positive actions like Miss Ivy has to help make the world a better place too. That's awesome.
And even with that, Angie, I'm still, I'm sorry, even with that, a lot of times because a lot of times when you're in the science industry, there's a lot of money that's being, I wouldn't say floated around. So a lot of times you got to have that positive respect and be able to approach a situation in love and be able to actually talk to a person. So it won't be about money, and it will be about everybody's best interests. Mm-hmm. So it goes across the board. I mean, and especially science is dealing with data, and a lot of people are like, well, the data says this, like, well, we don't have all the data. It might be an outlier. So we need to really discuss it so nobody get hurt. But anyway.
Well, I got to tell you, Miss Ivy, I am so thankful for all the scientists and all that they do, and that the advice that they give us. And I think as a community, when we come together and it, like, with information, you know what, I trust that, and it's my hope that, as a community, we trust the science, because
Yes.
even like recently, and some of our third graders, I'm sure they hear there with the pandemic that's affected everyone a lot about science, and those are things that, like, you're using positive actions to bring people together and look at the data and then make the recommendations, like, yes, wearing a mask. And
Yes.
and I want to interject right here, because I'm not sure how things are in Alabama, but currently here, that, like, this week in our county, our schools have been open, and but recently there have been some positive COVID cases. So and we're still, I mean, I know we're tired, aren't we? I mean,
We are very tired.
tired. It's been a long year, and we want things to be like they were a year ago, but we're almost there. And science has done incredible things to get us closer. And for me, I feel like the light is there. But we just got to follow the science, keep wearing that mask.
Yes, it's very, very important that we do.
We're getting ready to talk about humility for a core value, and I know humility says that you do something for someone else's well-being.
Yes.
And a lot of people, they're like, they don't want to wear this right now, but when we put it on, when I see it, it shows me that you care about my well-being too.
Yes.
And there's a lot of science behind this mask. And for me personally, I have issues. My husband has a chronic illness, and when I see someone wearing a mask, I'm like, they value me, they care about me, you know.
Yes.
And so, please just hang on, guys.
Yes.
Get that mask, get that vaccine.
We're almost there. Just keep it going. We are almost there. And as a scientist, I will tell you that the masks are very, very important. And it just not only think about yourself, think about your family, your friends, and if all you have to do is wear a mask for maybe a few more months, 3 or 4 months, however long it takes, to keep everybody safe and keep the people that you love not in harm's way, it's worth it.
Right.
Hey, I've worn a lab coat for over 30 years just to make sure that, I'm safe and the people I come in contact, and gloves. So I always wear the proper protective clothing. So a mask is not a big deal to me, but I need you guys to make a mask not a big deal to you guys, to make sure that we all stay safe.
And those are positive actions that show respect and show humility, wearing a mask, social distancing, and washing those hands. Wash your hands.
Yes.
It's good for you and your friends.
Yes.
Oh, Ivy, you're awesome. Okay, let's see. Nick has another question, Miss Ivy.
Okay.
Nick wants to know, what is it like to be a scientist, and have you ever done an expedition under the sea, underwater?
What is it like? Okay, the first question. But read that again. Okay.
First question from Nick is, what is it like to be a scientist?
It is fun to be a scientist. I haven't been in a lab in a long, long time, but I've had a chance to train a lot of scientists and to facilitate making sure that they know the science in the laboratory when they're doing the testing. It's great to be able to learn all the time. Every day, I'm learning something new. Even after being 51 years old and starting when I was 21, so it's been 30 years, I learned something new every day. It's fantastic. The people are cool. I know it's very, we're a whole bunch of, I work with all kinds, a lot of nerds. I'm a nerd, so you might not be able to tell it. So we have a lot, we have a lot of good times together, and we've done a lot of amazing things. And it hasn't been me. I always said, the people even I facilitate, I always want to be the least smart in the crowd, so I can learn from other people.
Me too.
As far as an expedition underwater, I've never done an expedition underwater, but I have collected a lot of water samples.
Oh yeah. I'm afraid to be underwater, like in the ocean or something. I'll swim and stuff, but boy.
Yeah.
Those
Now,
beautiful.
when I lived in Minnesota, I did a lot of water sampling to make sure the lakes and things were, didn't have any radioactivity in them. So,
Awesome. Well, Miss Fox from the 3rd grade class. Oh goodness. I got another email. Should we keep going?
that's fine.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Miss Ivy, and Miss Shema, do we still have time? I'm opening up my email, and now we have some 4th graders who have sent some questions.
Okay. I'll answer them quicker. So
this is fun. I know. I like to chat.
Let's see the questions, or they're different, because if they are like similar questions, maybe we can skip them.
Okay. That's a good idea, Shema. All right. Okay, Miss Ivy, this is a group of 4th graders. Mm-hmm. Their teacher's name is Miss Butts, Christy Butts. And this is a question from Zoe Dudurar.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Zoe wants to know, how do you make the plastic covering for face masks? That's a neat question. Oh, you know what? Maybe she probably heard you talk about, I didn't understand, something about the coating or something that makes the mask.
Yes, we have different type of polymers. There are different elements that come together with, I can't really give you how we make it because it's a trade secret, a lot of things. We do fluoropolymers, and it's like you have these big tanks and you put these chemicals in them and you mix them up, and they come out like a liquid, and you spray the coatings on the mask. So I can't really get into the different chemicals that are added, but that's what we do.
I saw a report on CBS Sunday Morning where they talked about the safety of masks and like how to tell. And one of the things I thought was interesting, like you're wearing a right mask, like this is the kind of like you can throw away, disposable. But if you're wondering if your mask is safe and has the right coating that Ivy's talks about, they said that you take your phone light, I don't know if you can see this on here, and you put it over top, and if it's a mask that you can see the threads through the light, then it's probably not as much protection as you need. So I thought that was cool. And that's not a trade secret. That was on CBS.
Exactly. And we make different chemicals that are water repellent, just like for surgical, for nurses and doctors when they're in surgery and they have, liquids, it repels it so it won't be absorbed in the gown. So our coatings do different things based on the composition.
Gotcha. Zoe's also asking how she could become a scientist. Girl scientist, another one.
Hey, yes, we love that.
Go, it's Women's History Month. Go Zoe, go Zoe, go Zoe.
Go to an accredited university, and it depends on what type of science you want. We have chemistry, we have biology, we have micro. If anybody wants to talk to me about the different sciences, hey, we can have another Zoom and talk about the different sciences. So, if you want to be a doctor, you probably want to go undergrad in chemistry. Most people think biology because a lot of the medical students can't make it through. Some of the medical students can't make it through medical school because of the chemistry. So it depends on what you want to do, because sciences, there are very, very different sciences. So it's just not just science, and different types of scientists.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is 4th grader Casey Canoles. And Casey wants to know, how many different types of shapes can you make with water and paper towel experiments?
As many cups as you have and paper towels. It's like,
right. Depends on how many paper towels you have, Casey. That's right.
So primarily because of the way that the migration of the color works. If you have 100 cups and you have 50 different, or even, colors, however you mix and match, it just migrates and makes new colors. So it's limitless.
Capillary action. Cool.
Yes.
This one is from Alex. And how many states have you been to?
I think I've been probably to at least, probably 50 to 60% of all the states.
There you
I
go.
have, I've landed in some of them. I've never, like Salt Lake City, Utah. I've done, layovers and things, but I've never really visited. But I've been to quite a few. I even lived in the Midwest. So I've been in North Dakota and South Dakota,
Yeah.
and lived in Iowa. But anyway.
Wow.
Lots of states, right? Yeah, Seamus traveled through lots of states too, right? Yeah. Aubrey Norcross, in a day, how many experiments do you do?
Actually,
or have you done?
Oh, in the day, it depended on the job that I had. I worked in inhalation drug delivery before, and I would actually analyze about 400 samples per day. That was
Wow.
Yeah. So
That
was a lot.
Next, our question time. I just got an alert. We're going to run out of time in a few minutes, so we'll try to get in these last couple questions. Parker Stotler is asking, what is your favorite thing to study about earth science?
Probably the photosynthesis.
Cool. Hey, you mentioned that with the capillary experiment, right? And how the water travels up and
I love that migration and everything, and how it's like a circle of life.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
And the final question, this is a curious question from Iris Holmes. How many countries have you been to? I guess maybe science takes you to a lot of neat places, huh, Miss Ivy? How many countries have you been to personally?
Actually, not as many as you would think. 4 or 5. Switzerland. Yeah. Of course, all over the United States, Canada. Yeah.
Thanks. Wow. Well, Ivy, thanks again. If we hear some more questions, I can send you an email.
Okay.
Right? And maybe